Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming up to the Citrus County Legislative Delegation meeting. It is 1:50 p.m. and we are going to call this meeting to order. I want to thank everybody for sticking around with the delay. We had our First Lady in town today, doling out some money to help with hurricane relief, and we were over in Homosassa this morning, so I appreciate you guys just waiting around for us. So the first order of business is an election of a chair and a vice chair. I'm chairing this year's delegation meeting. Representative Massulo is not going to be with us next year because he is termed out. First of all, I just want to say, Representative, you're a friend. I appreciate everything, and I'm sure I speak for everyone in the room. We just appreciate all of your hard work for everything that you've done for Citrus County. So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So with that, the way we normally do these elections of chairs and vice chairs is we alternate. But I'm doing it this year, but since Representative Massulo is not going to be here next year, whoever takes your place would probably envision them chairing this delegation meeting. But we cannot make a motion for somebody who is not here yet. Correct. So Ralph and I discussed this earlier. Do you want to make a motion so we can sort of put this in the correct posture?
Yes, Senator Ingoglia, let's move that from here forward, the chairs will rotate between the Senate representative and the House representative.
I would agree in a second with that. There's a motion on the table. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor of adoption signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And so that will be the procedure going forward. So everybody at this time, if you can please rise for the prayer. Representative Massulo will give the prayer and I will lead in the Pledge of Allegiance.
If you all just bow your heads and close your eyes. Lord God, we thank you so much for this beautiful day. Thank you for the opportunity to gather. Thank you for this free state that we have in this free country. And Lord, we remember the needs of our world. We are in a chaotic time right now, but we know that you are in control. We thank you for the wisdom that you'll provide for us. We thank you for these people that have come before us today with their requests, with their issues. And I pray, Lord, that we might dispatch them with haste and with your conscience. And Lord, we also ask for the needs of our community. Each and every one of us have needs, Lord. Needs for families, need for friends. We remember Andy Lahara, the deputy that was injured during graduation several months ago, who still remains in the hospital in a coma. And Lord, we just pray that you might wake him up. We pray for his family, his wife, and his children. And we pray, Lord, for this community that's been so touched by his service, that he might come back and walk among us again. Thank you, Lord, for all your thoughts for us. We know that you know us completely. And I just pray that you would strive with us today and for this rest of our lives. In your name we ask these things. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody please be seated. Okay, so we have some elected officials and local government representatives going to present before the delegation. I just want to remind, as we call up, there is not going to be any time limit for representatives of local government elected officials. And then after that, we're going to go into public testimony. We will have a 3-minute time limit for everyone on public testimony. So we will give you guys enough time via the signal, the red, white, red, green, yellow signal up there. So please just make sure if you have any poignant points that you want to make, try to get them early. This way we're not in a position where we do have to cut you off because we do want to hear what you have to say. So having said that, I believe Congressman Bill Arakis is on his way. He is not here yet, but as soon as he gets here, we'll make accommodations to get him up to the podium. Next up, State's Attorney Bill Gladson. You are recognized, sir.
Good afternoon, Senator Ingoglia and Representative Massulo. My name is Bill Gladson. I am the State Attorney for the 5th Judicial Circuit. I apologize in advance. Senator Ingoglia saw me twice last week at Hernando and Sumter County, so I'll try not to repeat myself too much. But for the benefit of the order here, I want to just touch on a couple things last legislative session that really impacted our community as a result of the hard work of everybody in Tallahassee. And you two in particular. There was a significant effect on public safety. There was an overhaul of the death penalty bill, which had a direct impact and is having a direct impact on victims of homicides and survivors, family members, to get justice that I think in some cases had been previously denied because of the way the statute was written. There was an amendment to the statute last year that allows us to now seek the death penalty on capital sexual battery cases against children. There was an address of the issue of cashless bond, because we don't want what we see happening in some of the larger circuits and some of the larger cities in this country to happen locally. And all of those things directly impact public safety, and it's because of the work that you did in Tallahassee. It's also because of the work of Sheriff Prendergast, whose deputies work tirelessly every day to keep Citrus County safe and give us good cases to prosecute. And we work with them hand in hand, and without them, we couldn't produce the numbers that we produce. Public safety has always been a priority, and it was recognized very clearly last year. And I also want to thank you for the last 2 years. There have been raises given to state employees, and that has helped keep up with inflation. That has made a difference. One of the key things in state government and local county government is if there's a lot of turnover, there's a lot of retraining, and that retraining takes away from the work that we do, because we spend a lot of time kind of retreading. So if we could continue with the momentum that we had the last couple of years in addressing state employees' salaries, any benefits, anything like that would be extremely appreciated. But I did want to say thank you for those last 2 years. There are 2 local issues for the 5th Circuit, one of which is our medical examiner's office. Since I've worked as a prosecutor, in 1998 is when I started, the medical examiner's office has been located in Leesburg. And it served 5 counties for a long time, and now it serves 6. Our population has probably grown by 1/3, if not doubled, in the last 25 years. So there's a need, and you'll hear more about it later, for a much larger, much more appropriately sized facility that will come up. And also, in the Marion County Courthouse, we do not have a grand jury room. And we have to convene grand juries on capital cases, but we also now have to convene them on capital sexual battery cases. So there is a partial request from the county for some funding for the 4th floor of the courthouse, which we're on the 5th. The 4th floor is where we had planned to build out some more office space and have a grand jury room so we can conduct grand juries. Right now we're using courtrooms, but courtrooms are booked up because of obviously court calendars. And when we get a call for a grand jury, if we have a murder this weekend, we're going to need to call the grand jury in next week or the week after. So we have to get them in quickly, find space for them. It's a large group of people. It's not just a regular jury. So those are the 2 issues locally. But I just, again, want to reiterate how appreciative we are the last couple of years. It's really made a difference in public safety. So, you got any questions?
Nope.
No.
Just a statement, just real quick.
Yes, sir.
I've said this before, I'll continue saying this. I want to thank you and Florida Department of Law Enforcement, our local sheriffs, everything that you guys are doing to keep our community safe. It cannot go unstated just how much we appreciate law enforcement and everything that we do, and quite frankly, keeping everything sane. Because some of the things that we've seen in other states are, quite frankly, insanity. If you take away the deterrent from committing crimes, guess what? You're going to have more crimes. I mean, you have other states that are getting rid of cashless, that are going to cashless bail, and they're having problems with that. You're getting rogue prosecutors and other areas of the country and sometimes here in the state of Florida that are refusing to prosecute. And all that does is it enables the bad guys, and it shows them that they have an upper hand over the victims. And we just refuse to stand for that. So I want to thank you and just continue to know that this legislature, I can speak for Representative Massulo on this going into this next session. We're going to do everything that we have to have your back on that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Next up, Chairman Douglas Dodd and Dr. Scott Herbert, Assistant Superintendent for Citrus County Schools. You are recognized.
Yes, thank you very much, Senator Ingoglia, Representative Massulo. Appreciate you having us here today to discuss a little bit about public education. Superintendent Himmel was not able to be with us, but I'm the chairman of the school board. Thomas Kennedy is the vice chair. Scott Heber is assistant superintendent. So we have some things we want to bring before you. But I also want to recognize we do have our school board members, Sandy Counts and Joe Faraday is here also. They're not going to be speaking, but they wanted to make sure to be here to show their support because we have talked about this, and I know you all like to have public boards have discussed things before their board. So a lot of, I think almost everything we talk about here today has been discussed before our board before we bring it to you. So first of all, we want to thank you for your continued support and funding for public schools and for your continued focus on school safety and security. As a result of the murderous and evil attack at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida in February of 2018, we have resolved to do everything in our power to prevent an atrocity like this from ever happening again. School safety and mental health is a priority in Citrus County. Costs are continuing to increase in these areas, so we would appreciate your financial consideration as you fund education through the FEFP, the Florida Education Finance Program. I would like to say we did see increases in our safe school allocation and our mental health allocation this year, so thank you for that. And we're hoping that we'll continue to have increases in this next year because there's still a lot of costs associated with school safety and security. We are working diligently to provide quality career and technical education opportunities to our students. The school board would like to thank you for your support and your funding for our construction academy at Citrus High School. We are now currently working towards expanding our Academy of Health Careers at Crystal River High School. In October, our board unanimously approved an appropriations grant request for this expansion. The Vice Chairman Thomas Kennedy is going to explain our funding request and our desire to have an increased focus on career and technical education. And I just want to make sure both of you know that you're welcome at any time in our public schools to come out and visit at any time or speak to any of the board members, the superintendent. We welcome you. Our doors are open.
Appreciate it.
Senator Dr.
Well,
Massulo.
first of all, I have you on the list next. You're not going to double dip, are you?
No, I promise, I'm not going to double
Just
dip.
check.
But remember, you know, I am a patriot, so. Senator Dr. Massulo, and first of all, I have to thank your amazing staff. As much as you always make yourself accessible to us and for us, your staff is phenomenal, and we are grateful to them. I also want to again express our truly appreciation for the funding of the Construction Academy, which currently has approximately 150 students. And as Blaise, you and I are from the construction industry, that's huge to us as to the impacts of it. Citrus County School District remains steadfast in its commitment to providing outstanding career and technical education. For those who don't understand, we're talking about vocational. We're talking about workforce. We currently offer 150 CTE courses for our high school students, encompassing 70 different industries that cross over to 38 different pathways of study. As Chairman Dodd mentioned, on Tuesday, October 10th, the school board unanimously approved to apply for an appropriations request for the 2024 legislative session to secure additional special funding for the Academy of Health Careers at Crystal River High School. I know you both are well acquainted with this significant academy, and the Academy of Health Careers has played a pivotal role in preparing our students for the post-secondary education and careers in the healthcare industry. It also prepares our students for the STEM industry. This preparation is achieved through a combination of rigorous curriculum, motivation, leadership training, team building, and one of, I think, the most important aspects, real-world healthcare experiences. Dr. Massulo, I have to thank you both personally as well as professionally for you making your office available throughout the years at different times for some of our students to be able to shadow and job shadow. It's worth noting that the Academy of Health Careers is the oldest magnet program within Citrus County Schools. It boasts a proud history that now spans, this year, 30 years in operation. It stands unarguably as the most successful high school career and technical program in our school district, and I believe within the region and state. Over the years, this academy has produced thousands of nurses, doctors, first responders, engineers, military leaders, and healthcare professionals. To further enhance its impact and to ensure a strong foundation for its future, our academy has an ambitious plans, and these include updating the standards equipment to provide additional opportunities and pathways. Opportunities for expansion that we are excited to talk about are things like incorporating our Firefighter One as part of our EMS EMT program. And I want to thank Chief for being here today because he has been very supportive in working with us along with Chief Stevens in that endeavor. Moreover, we look to include programs such as radiology, EKG, phlebotomy, and healthcare management. These are already in addition to the certified nursing assistant, biomedical technician, dental assistant, EMS EMT in the Phil Royal EMT program, and the veterinarian assistant pathways. You see, we firmly believe that these types of initiatives in career and technical education are not only vital to our students, but they are essential in meeting the critical healthcare needs we have in our community and in our state. Recent state reports show that in just our regional area, we will need about 1,000 workers this coming year in the healthcare industry. In closing, I just want to express a great personal and professional gratitude for you considering these matters. Your support and advocacy in our community's education and healthcare needs has been so appreciative. We are fortunate to have both of you as our leaders, and we look forward to working together as these future endeavors. Do you have any questions that we can maybe answer for you?
No, I just have two comments. Is when I said elected officials didn't have a time limit, I didn't mean you should take it literally. Just playing. We are friends. And you said 30 years, right?
30 years.
That's it's almost as long as I've been alive.
I just want to say some of the things that Senator Ingoglia alluded to earlier when we talked about how this state supports law enforcement is because of a lack of quality education. Education is the key to us solving many of our social issues, particularly informing the public about civility. And I have to compliment both our county and the senator's home county, Hernando, because they have concentrated and they have invested in career and technical education. And as we continue to innovate how we view education in our state and how we blend both higher ed with high school and career and technical education, my word for you all this year is innovation. Mm-hmm. And I want you to keep that in mind as we go forward. Because the way we view education today is going to be totally different in how we view it in 10 and 15 years. And it's your jobs, and you've done a great job thus far, to make sure our students are adaptable and dynamic to be able to meet the needs of what's going to happen in the middle part of our 21st century.
Thank you. Thank you both.
We did leave a packet from the School Board Association and the
We
District
have
School
it.
Superintendents. Yes, sir. And also would like to recognize our 5th board member, Ginger Bryant, has arrived. So all 5 board members are here in support. Thank you very much.
And we appreciate the support, and we appreciate you guys coming, all of you guys coming here. Thank you for that. There he is. Okay, our esteemed Congressman Gus Bilirakis is here. So, Congressman, come on up. You gonna come up?
Thank you so very much. I don't want to take a lot of time, please, but I'm here to listen as long as I can be here. But we have a senator here and a representative here that I work with very closely, and county commissioners, city commissioners as well. We have to work together as a team for the best. It's in the best interest of our constituents. So I want to be as accessible as I possibly can. We do have an office here in Inverness and a temporary office also in Crystal River. But I do want to give you a little report. We do have a speaker finally. We have a new speaker, and he's an excellent individual. I think you've already probably figured that out. He's very genuine, he's very sincere, he's very conservative, and most of all, he's very humble, and he's also very smart. So, I think he'll do a great job, but we have to give him an opportunity for the good of the country. So, again, I have several projects here in this wonderful county of Citrus, and also Hernando and Pasco as well, that are in the appropriations bills. We have 3 appropriations bills that are on the floor this week, as well as an Israel resolution funding Israel. And again, Israel is really our number one ally, particularly in the Middle East, in the Eastern Mediterranean as a whole. And then we have some resolutions that will be on the floor as well, a privilege resolution. So we'll be very, very busy this week. I will tell you that the speaker, I think he needed a couple days, but also it's Halloween tomorrow. So it's good for us to, even though I don't have any kids that qualify, I have older kids, and I don't have grandchildren yet. But it's nice for us to be with our families during Halloween. But I tell you, he canceled all the district work periods. We'll be up there, and we need to get a budget by November 17th. So, and it'll be a conservative budget. So, in any case, I want you to know we're here for you. We're here for you. We're here for our true American heroes, our veterans, and all of our citizens. And I appreciate you giving me the time. God bless each and every one of you. It is an honor and a privilege to represent you in the United States Congress. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman.
Congressman, I just want to particularly, Congressman, I want to particularly thank you for your work with the veterans. And I want to continue to encourage you to have a veterans health care facility, if not a hospital, close by our community. Your district loves you for that, as well as a few other things.
Yeah, and I just want to double down on that and just say I appreciate, look, we are here to take care of our constituents. It's a big part of our jobs, and we get phone calls all the time having to deal with federal issues, whether it's immigration issues, whether it's visa issues, whether it is passport issues. And I could say that every time that we have passed off something to your office has been Johnny on the spot on it. So we appreciate that. So. Okay, Mayor Robert Plaisted. There he is. You're recognized, sir.
Thank you. We certainly appreciate this legislative delegation program today, and we're grateful that we can be here. We sent a letter earlier to your respective bodies, and I'm going to go ahead and reiterate some of those things that we talked about. And so we all have requests, and I'll try to be as fast as possible. I've only got 76 bullet points, but we'll cut it down to about 7. Anyway, I'm grateful to be here. These items have been discussed publicly by Inverness elected officials, so we're all on board with the things that we're talking about. You know, Highway US 41 North and State Road 200 from Inverness to Marion County is in dire need of being completed. I can recall in 1991 when I met with FDOT, the project was to be completed from 41 to Hernando up to 200 by 1999. And I think, my friends, that we're running a little bit late here, but nonetheless, if anybody can get this stuff done, you guys can, because you guys have been terrific in all that you do, so we appreciate that so much. This connector represents an economic corridor for Ocala to Inverness. If you go up Highway 41, it's not as top quality as the other areas like Highway 44. So when we get to be a main corridor, we'll have some top-rate businesses that will come in, and national perhaps, and be a great boon to us. This has over the years caused problems for not only residents but commercial vehicles as well. It should be looked at for what it can bring to a large section of West Central Florida also. We're so hopeful that we can get this done on a timely basis, and I know that we're working on it right now, but it just seems to have been running quite slow. We want to oppose erosion of home rule and unfunded mandates. To be quick, basically, as you all understand, there are also situations where one size does not fit all. Enough said about that. So septic to sewer grant funding, the city appreciates previous grant awards, but to fully correct the problem that we have, increased grant assistance must be considered. We're doing all we can to change over from septic to sewer. The cost is prohibitive to business and residents without state assistance. And we'll move as fast as you will provide funding, of course. So we're doing all we can here at the city level. Affordable housing, we go back to Inverness Acres, which is a real thumb in the eye. It was established over 60 years ago with 1,453 lots on unpaved streets, with 55 or 3.7% of those developed with homes or duplex structures. There are no paved roads. There's no central water and sewer or stormwater infrastructure available on this platted subdivision. The city has investigated funding strategies for the installation of infrastructure needed to develop affordable housing. The Live Local Act and funding provided by Senate Bill 102 is a significant effort to fund the expansion of affordable housing units. The City of Inverness requests your support to provide funding for infrastructure development in Inverness Acres. Gentlemen, it is a real eyesore. It's a bad situation for those that live there, and it could bring so much more in affordable housing to our community. Water quality, water supply, and stormwater structures. Bullet points are funding is needed to protect the outstanding waterways of the state. Stormwater management and construction of infrastructure places a heavy demand locally and to future investment. Funding for regional supply approaches is necessary to meet growth patterns and investment. Support the maintaining of water supply allocations for future use within our growing community versus looking to reduce permitted quantities with no reserve capacity for the future. Multimodal transportation and bicycle connectivity. You have heard about this from us before. The intermodal design of a community represents the future. Inverness is recognized by the cycling community as a leader in intermodal planning and cycling achievement. We are a bronze level rated community, and we need assistance to get to silver and gold. So we're looking forward to that. Work never ends, and growth increases the need for mobility options. We seek assistance to help secure state funding that allows communities that demonstrate local commitment to receive support to further invest and economically develop the lifestyle qualities of an intermodal program. We are that community, Inverness that is. So we have submitted a legislative funding request to build a new trailhead facility at the West Inverness Trail. This trail connects the Withlacoochee Trail system and will promote multimodal resources of the state and remove certain non-vehicle trips from the state highway system. The new facility will expand recreational opportunities for residents and visitors and promote economic development in the region. So we ask for your help to support connection of major local parks, recreation facilities to the state trail. We ask for your help to support safe crossing, signalization equipment, trail/road crossings. And we ask for your help to support for transportation alternatives, finding for the repair and resurfacing of the Withlacoochee State Trail as the Hernando Citrus MPO's #1 priority. So that trail has been there for a long time, and it does need to be resurfaced and redone. So that's all for safety. Public safety, we ask that you support funding to small-size fire departments and grant programs therein. Support upgrading and technology to improve first responders' facilities and communications infrastructure. We appreciate the help you've already given us, for sure. We never neglect to thank you for all that you have done for us so far. But without us asking, then you wouldn't have an idea where we're coming from. So in closing, the City of Inverness appreciates that you organized the opportunity to hear our concerns and points of interest. Our working relationship with you is valued, and this is a better community because we work together. We fully understand and appreciate the tasks at hand during this legislative season and only seek to provide suggestions and insights for the greater good. So anytime that we could get together and talk about some of these programs, we certainly would appreciate that. You guys are tops. We're going to miss you, Representative Massulo. You've been doing a great job all these years, so we're sorry that you have to term out, but thank you for all that you've done. Senator Ingoglia, thank you.
Hold on one second, sir.
Yeah, I just have one comment. You'll notice that our state legislature, under our great governor, has really emphasized resiliency. And part of resiliency is stormwater management. We have $100 million a year in grants to local communities to do just that.
Beautiful.
And so, you know, I invite you to come up to Tallahassee to sit in some of our committees and see some of the things we're doing, particularly on intermodal transportation and building that community center, because we feel that's an important part of our society. And see if you all couldn't apply for some of that money that's available, because a couple years ago it wasn't even used up.
Well, there you go. Thank you so much for that information. Really appreciate it.
I do want to make a comment on septic to sewer funding, and this is just a general comment, so this is for you, it's for BOCC, anyone can listen. Septic to sewer conversion is extremely costly. You're talking anywhere between maybe $35,000 to $53,000 per lot. And I wish more government, so I'm asking you, I'm asking BOCC to consider the use of aerobic systems to be put in its place, because the way I look at this is that there's nothing more precious than the environment, but there's also nothing more precious than people's tax dollars, and making sure that we're getting the biggest bang for our buck and we're using it as efficiently as possible. The challenge with septic to sewer is it's so costly, and that cost takes it takes 100% of the nitrates and the phosphorus out of the system. So and across the state in areas that need to be protected are springs of great magnitude that are within BMAPs and our PFAs. It's probably in the range of tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars of that will have to be paid out in order to put everything on septic to sewer, right?
Yeah.
So, but then that's taking 100% of the nitrates and the phosphates out of the system. There are advanced technologies now, specifically aerobic systems, that are a lot more cost effective, that will take about 95% of the nitrates and the phosphates out of the system. So I just want local governments to keep that in the back of their mind. Sure, the septic sewer is a holy grail, but the funding for that is always going to lag. We're always going to try to play up catch up. So if we really want to get these the estuaries and the springs cleaned up in our waterways as quickly as possible, you get really good bang for the buck in these aerobic systems, because you could probably retrofit them in the community for about $17,000, $18,000, which is probably half of what is on the low end, maybe 3 times less on the high end of what it costs. So, because there is a challenge with funding, because we're always looking for funding in order to take care of this. And sometimes those grant programs, they run out quick, and you have to wait again, and then you have to apply. So there's no guarantee that you're going to get it, even with the commitment that we have with this governor. So it's just one thing I wish local governments should start, would think more about. Now, not every situation is going to be perfect and right to put in an aerobic system. If you have a bunch of homes that are on old infrastructure that directly affect a lake or a waterway, and they're equal to a little bit higher or lower than the water table, you're not going to do that. You're going to have to put in a septic to sewer. So I just throwing that out there. I want you guys just
Appreciate that.
to think a little bit more about alternative ways to do that.
We understand how expensive it is. We're doing that right now on Highway 44, all the way out to the city limit. And in one particular instance, we're relieving a dealership of 11 or 13 septic tanks. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very costly.
Because you could probably, if you have a subdivision or an area that has old infrastructure, it may take anywhere between 5 to 15 years in order to go through the engineering, going through the swapping out the septic, the sewer, where you could probably put an aerobic system and get everyone switched over within a 24-month time frame.
It's good
So
consideration.
it's
Thank you.
15 years at the
Sure.
cost of tens of millions of dollars, or if not hundreds of millions of dollars, as opposed to getting the environment, getting the nitrates and phosphates out of the system within a 2-year system and getting 95% of it out.
Make a good
Just
point.
food for thought.
Good point. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you both.
Chairman Ruthie Schleybaugh from Board of County Commissioners.
Looking for my handler. I don't see him, so I guess you get only me.
Define handler. Now I'm a little,
Well, they never know which way I'm going to go, so they try to keep me in. Now, I'm looking for Gene McGee, actually.
he's back there.
Come on up. Thank you for being here, and thank you, Congressman Bilirakis. I think we have the strongest team in the state of Florida with you three, so thank you. And it's good to be out of the house. The first time I've been out of the house, so I came out for just you guys.
That's such a low bar.
I thought you'd like that.
First of all, it's a low bar if you come out for us. And the second thing, which it's good to see you out.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. Hope you feel well.
Well, I appreciate you being here, and again, I'm so thankful for you all. But as you said, I'm Commissioner Ruthie Davis Schleybaugh, Chairman of the Citrus County Board of County Commissioners, and I'm here today to present the board's priorities for the 2024 legislative session. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you and our citizens here to thank you for advocating in the best interest of our community. Before asking you to support our special members' request in the upcoming session, I would like to provide an update on previous appropriations and the status of these projects. This year in my chairmanship, we have been very busy. In 2023, we requested a $9 million ask for Phase 2 of the Inverness Airport Industrial Park. I'm happy to report that in August, we celebrated. Construction is ongoing, and we look forward to completing Phase 1 by the end of this year. Florida remains a leader in aviation and aerospace, and Citrus County plans to do all that we can to promote growth, for which we will receive growth for these important industries. The Southwest Regional Water Reclamation Facility project, for which we received $1 million, has been completed and is now online. The county has also received $2.3 million for the design and permitting of a multi-use path on Halls River Road in Homosassa, which will be further addressed later in this presentation. This session, the Board of County Commissioners asked that the Florida Legislature provide funding for 2 special member projects. Our first funding request is for Phase 1 of the Barge Canal Boat Ramp, which includes the construction of a boat ramp, gangways with floating docks, car parking spaces, boat and trailer spaces, and stormwater facility. The anticipated cost for design and construction of this phase is $11.18 million. Citrus County has pledged $630,000 in local funding, and we request $7.35 million in state funding for this project. The balance is anticipated to be awarded through the Restore funding process. Construction of the boat ramp will improve access to the Gulf of Mexico for local boaters and visitors. Additionally, it will provide improved potential for business development on the Cross Florida Barge Canal, acting as an economic driver for our county. Our second request is for the construction of the Halls River multi-use path. This project is being managed and implemented by the Florida Department of Transportation. Now that design and permitting are in progress for this 3.2-mile asphalt path, which will create benefits for local businesses, community members, and exercise enthusiasts. Citrus County requests an additional $5 million in special member projects funding to build that trail. The county has contributed $1 million towards the project and will contribute another $1 million towards Phase 2. It is my hope that the legislature will continue to show their support for the infrastructure here in Citrus County and improvements. Included in the package that staff has provided is information about state programs and local partner projects for which Citrus County would like to voice our support. The highlighted programs provide crucial funding for septic to sewer initiatives, invasive aquatic plant management, broadband expansion, housing services, road resurfacing, library services, and improving our community's behavioral health and more. You may have noticed that our county is bringing a different energy these days. A new culture has emerged from the changes in our leadership. And the Board of County Commissioners is excited to be moving forward together. Thank you for being here today and listening to us. And if you have any questions, you can ask Jean.
Hey, Ruthie. Good job. Just want to say one thing. Since I have to come up and ask you guys and advocate for all of this, I want to say thanks for last year. $9 million for the Inverness Airport was an unbelievable job by you two to bring home infrastructure funding for this county, $2.3 million for the multi-purpose path. You know, the other projects in this county for our partners, for Livestream, for the city of Crystal River, or just for the city of Inverness, it was unbelievable what you two did for Citrus County last year. And so it's a high bar, but I think you can get over it this year. We've asked for a little bit less. That means you can make a bigger jump to get higher over it. So I just wanted to add thank you very much for last year in addition to these requests for this year.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Is there a Joe Meek sighting in the building? There he is. Mayor, come on up.
Thank you, Senator. Good afternoon. Thank you both very much. We really appreciate it. I'm joined by Doug Baber, our city manager at Crystal River. And before I get going into our specific items, I just wanted to take this opportunity and thank the both of you. If you don't know from the public, I'm sure you do, but Crystal River unfortunately has been through its fair share of natural disasters over the last 7 weeks. And I have to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you to the both of you. We could not ask for better partners with regards to the folks in the state than the two of you. There hasn't been a time where we haven't called late at night, on the weekend, whatever, and it's just been unbelievably helpful. You've had folks from the state here and done everything and anything that we could have asked for. So we want to, on behalf of the city, thank you both very much and the state for all of their help.
Smile for Mike.
Yeah. Thank you, Senator. Thanks. Also, the items that we're presenting, we have 4 items specifically to talk about today. All 4 of them have been voted on by our City Council, passed unanimously as to items we want to talk about. One of the items that's not on here, but I just want to express our support for, is Save Crystal River is going to be presenting their own item. And as you both know, it's just been a huge help for the bay and the water quality that they've done. And so we're always very supportive of that. But we have 4 specific items, all of which have been given to your staff and have been submitted with regards to the proposed appropriations on our end from you all. But here they are. The first one is a Turkey Oak Complete Street Improvement, or Complete Street Program it's called. It's different from our original years ago, and the delegation approved and supported this, was a bypass road. We've downsized that considerably and looking at street improvements along Turkey Oak to help move traffic along as a result of a multitude of factors, one of which being the Veterans Expressway or the Suncoast Parkway. So we're asking for some help and support on that. We're also asking for assistance on purchasing a used ladder truck for our fire department. As our buildings go up, those are things that expenses that we're going to incur, and any assistance you can give on that would be great. The third ask is we are partnering with the Citrus County Board of County Commissioners with relocating a boat ramp. As part of our Riverwalk project in the city, we are losing one boat ramp, and we're going to be moving that. And we've partnered with the Board of County Commissioners to help expand the most used boat ramp in the county, Fort Island boat ramp. So we're working with them to expand the parking and add a ramp there. It's a long story, but because of the Manatee Protection Act and different things, you can't cite a new boat ramp, if you will, but we have a credit for the one we're going to be losing. So we want to work with the county. We think by far it'll be the biggest bang for the buck from a public standpoint. So we're seeking some assistance on that. And the last thing we're going to ask for is some help on City Hall reconstruction. And I'll preface that by saying, first, thank you. You all approved $1.3 million this last legislative session, and the governor signed that for engineering, design, permitting of a new structure, and also demolition of an existing one. That was prior to Hurricane Idalia and being flooded out of our City Hall. So you all set the ball moving on that prior to this, and so that's great news. The bad news is we are now not in our City Hall. It has been flooded out for, I believe, the 5th time in the entirety of the building, twice in the last 7 years. The cost to reconstruct City Hall right now, we're getting estimates, is approaching $1 million just to get back into it, only for it to be flooded out again and be a huge waste of taxpayer dollars. And so we believe the city can set the example of how you can be in a flood zone area, because the entirety of the city is, and still mitigate the concerns and issues that you see with storm surge and flooding. I do it every day as a builder on a residential side of things, and we think that City Hall can be the example of things where you elevate the building, you do certain things to mitigate against the flood. We're not seeking to build a fancy building and want a new City Hall just so we can say we can have one. We're talking about operations of things that we're required to do, building division, land development things, utility, wastewater, departments that are operated out of City Hall, that after our flood we had to scramble, and because of the great work of our staff and great partners with the state, Chamber of Commerce, we're currently working out of the Chamber of Commerce building as our City Hall. County Commission stepped up and is providing space. And so we have an opportunity right now to rebuild City Hall. There's been some discussions about moving it out of downtown Crystal River. We're against that for a few reasons. We believe City Hall should have a presence there. That's our home. All of the city is in Zone A evacuation. So if there is a major storm that comes, Crystal River is under a mandatory evacuation. And so the reality is we know we can be in a building that can be elevated. Floodwaters come in, it's protected, floodwaters go out, and we're up and operational the next day. And so we're asking for some support on that. So those are our 4 items that we're seeking some assistance on, but I just want to end by saying thank you again. You guys have just been a godsend to the city of Crystal River, and just made it happen. So we owe you big time.
Do you have anything?
So unlike MacArthur, you're not going back, are you?
Right, we're not going back. I tell people all the time, it would make no sense for us to spend taxpayer dollars into a building that has been flooded out. It's going to happen again. It's a matter of time before it does. So no, we're not going back. And we're moving forward, and we've got plans. And because of the funding that you all have already given us, we're on the way towards that prior to this latest flood.
Very good. Thank you.
Awesome.
No, thank you very
Thank you, sir.
much. Have a great day, guys.
Before we go into public testimony, is there any other elected officials that want to come before us and speak? Or forever hold your peace? Okay, we'll go into public testimony. Just a reminder, public testimony will be limited to 3 minutes. Representative Massulo will be timing you guys. At first, let's call up Dr. James Henningsen, College of Central Florida.
That's the one.
Doc, you are up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, we're so blessed to have both of you as leaders, not only for Citrus and our region around here, but also for the whole state. The great work you did last year chairing your committees and passing some great legislation. I just want to say thank you very much for that. We are in the middle at the College of Central Florida. You were very good to us last year. We're in the largest expansion of workforce programs in the history of the college, across certificates, AS degrees, all the areas. And we're continuing that. Health science is one of the predominant areas. We've got a new building. Our foundation built it with private dollars. They are donating a 25,000 square foot office building to us for additional expansion to save Florida taxpayers money on that. So we'll be seeking renovation dollars to turn that into a health science building, expanding some of those programs, as well as teacher education for getting more teachers out in the K-12. So excited about being able to bring a little return on investment back to the state with local donors on that part. Two is criminal justice, public safety, EMS, EMT. They need to drive their ambulances around on a driving pad along with their public safety officers, as well as truck driving, which we have in a public-private partnership with Fleet Force. And we're trying to find 10 acres. The land we're leasing from the city in Ocala right now, it's on the west side of Marion County. Could be sold at any time. It's near the airport, and they're looking to develop that in a different direction. So we're trying to find a place, partnering with the sheriff's department, city, as well as others, a private vendor in truck driving to make that one happen. So excited about more workforce opportunity there. And lastly, I just want to say, it takes fuel. Consider us, I don't know if anybody's Daytona 500. I love race car driving and stuff. But we have consistently been winning races at the college in terms of expanding and finding creative ways to do that saves taxpayer money in workforce areas that are critically needed. But it does take fuel in the gas tank. We've been proven that I think if you invest in us, every dollar in our tank goes a lot farther than other places across the state. And that's something that we will do what it takes. We'll make hard decisions. At the college, we run it like a business. If we have programs that don't do well, we close them. We put those resources into the ones that are most critically needed. So thanks for your support. We'll circle back with your folks, and just appreciate your leadership and all you do and for the college system, for CF, for our community, because we're expanding at every single campus at a record rate right now. That's why I need more gasoline. But thank you both. Appreciate the time.
Appreciate it.
Well, I'm glad you're not trying to make everything battery powered. I think CF has been a leader as far as how our state colleges are integrating dual enrollment as well as CTE, and I want to compliment you on that.
Thank you. We just launched a new collegiate academy that's going to expand dual enrollment access to a wide variety of our workforce programs, from certificate to AS degrees, so they can graduate with those now before they leave high school. So really excited about that. Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you, sir. John Murphy, Citrus County Chamber of Commerce, Governmental Affairs.
Thank you.
Well, thank you both for allowing us an opportunity to speak. We really appreciate it. I want to kind of give you a sense of where the document came from that you have in front of you. We start the conversation with our business members, of which we represent almost a thousand local businesses, and that's where the conversation begins. And then we take that same conversation and we move on to conversations with all the municipalities. because really we're best served when we have single voice, right? And so what we always look at things through the lens of what is the ROI for our community and how is it going to impact our local business community. And so that's where this list is born out of. You'll see many things on this list have already been mentioned today by other organizations. Highway 41 expansion is a great example of that. The MPO actually has that as a top priority. Construction has begun. We just want to continue to see that funding. The next stage, there's acquisition dollars there, and there's design dollars, but we just want to kind of continue to see that project because it is being done in stages. We don't want to see it ever kind of come to a bottleneck, and that's kind of the concern there. Speaking of bottlenecks, you'll see a priority of ours is the widening of 491. Pine Ridge Boulevard, eventually to 200, but we'll take to Holder. That's okay. You can give us a section at a time because it is really a bottleneck, and that is where all the growth is happening within our community, is that Ridge region. And so what we want is we want a preventive, we don't want to have 41 2.0. Highway 41 really should have been widened a decade ago, if not longer. And so we want to make sure that we're actually widening that now rather than later before it really becomes an issue for us. So you can see there's a couple other transportation issues on there as well. The other big area for us is related to workforce. No specific ask there, but as you're going through the legislature, as you're looking at bills that come across your desk, what's concerning of the local business community, and you guys are experiencing this yourselves, I'm sure, and that is challenges with workforce. And there's a number of areas, right? It's related to mental health issues affecting and impacting our workforce and not having the right programs in place or whatever that looks like, right? As those things kind of come across your desk, we want you to kind of think about that. The other is you think about the skills gap and CTE and things of that nature are incredibly, incredibly important to us. It used to be back in the day, you had an AS degree, you were good to go, and then all of a sudden somebody decided you needed a bachelor's degree. Heck, nowadays, we think there's short-term certificates that might be able to meet those needs and get folks into workforce to meet critical needs of our community in a much more rapid rate. And anytime those become opportunity, we want you to kind of be positive of those. And the other is in the area of childcare. If I worked outside of a Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 career, I'm not sure what local folks do in the area of childcare. So if there are legislation that comes across your desk that's related to that somehow even incentivizes those off hours. I'm not sure what firefighters do for childcare. I'm not sure what folks that work in ALFs and SNFs and hospitals do for childcare. And so those things are important. And as you look at those, I want to make sure that you kind of you're paying attention to that. That's all I ask. The other is, as I said, the list is really designed of those local initiatives from other partner organizations that we want to support. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Natalia Rigatuso. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes,
All right.
nobody ever does. Natalia Rigatuso.
That's what happens when you get a Paisan senator.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for having me. There are two items that I would like to bring to your attention today. The Citrus County Building Department portal. Vanderbilt Construction has more than 100 active construction permits in Citrus County. I would like to provide you with an update on the current developments within the Citrus County Building Department. We understand that change is not always synonymous with improvement, and the prospect of implementing an untested system in such a large department is difficult to contemplate. After 6 months of struggle, you must know that we, the builders of Citrus County, really need help. The implementation of the new builders portal happened in April 2023. The new portal doesn't follow the Florida statutes and causes a lot of problems to the construction industry. Local construction companies have the same experience as Vanderbilt Construction. Most of the common complaints are unable to schedule inspections, the system does not inform the builder of expiration of permits, and we're unable to get overcharged fees returned. Then in regarding to the moratorium on construction permits for 31 families, I'd like to bring to your attention what I believe to be misconduct by the BOCC of Citrus County, Florida. 31 families are facing unjust treatment and will experience unexpected financial hardships. On April 25th, during their board meeting, the Citrus County Board of Commissioners made the decision to halt the issuance of construction permits in Inverness Village 4. They referred to this as a moratorium. It is important to note that no formal ordinance was passed in connection with the decision. You can review the enclosed meeting transcripts for more details. 31 permit applications, some approved and some already paid, are all frozen. 90% of our buyers have taken out loans to buy the property, and to finance the construction with a construction loan through local banks. There is no ordinance in place and there is no law that prohibits the building department from issuing permits. The enclosed transcripts of the BOCC meeting, where the county attorney tells the board that the previous county administrator reversed a similar situation a couple years ago. Inverness Village 4 is next to US 41 widening project and next to the Withlacoochee State Trail. Vandervaart Construction has not received any contact regarding discussions about the permit moratorium or MSBU concerns. We have made efforts to schedule meetings with the commissioners, county attorney, and county administrator, but unfortunately none of our requests have been granted. We recommended that the property owners that have permits in the moratorium write letters to the board. While most of them did, none were answered. In the past 6 months, the moratorium has been extended twice during the BOCC meeting, the first in July 2023 and more recently in October 2023. Curiously, both of these meetings lacked any discussion and the extension was approved without providing any explanation. There is still no ordinance. Property owners are within this subdivision remain uncertain. The impasse has led to a situation where families who wish to reside in Citrus County are unable to obtain permits, and I would like to request your assistance in the standstill.
So a couple of things for you.
Yes.
One, just so I'm clear, and Steve's in the back, okay. Are you saying that the first, now this is a local issue,
Yes.
right? So this is not a state issue?
Yes.
Unless you're asking us to pass a law that says that there cannot be any moratoriums
Yeah.
on building permits. So this is a local issue, but I do want to understand your local issue because I have received some emails on this that I personally read. You're saying that the BOCC did not approve the initial moratorium and then an extension of a moratorium, that moratorium, which you said, which wasn't, your claim was that it wasn't legally done, correctly done, was extended 2 times at a BOCC meeting. Is that, do I
yes.
have that accurately?
Yes.
Okay. So for my staff and for BOCC administrator, if you can just brief me on this issue with the staff, actually more with the staff, just I want to understand more about what this issue is and the particulars on this issue. To your other comment about the permitting system, I'm a builder also, and I've seen some of those same challenges that they've had here. So, so in addition, I would also personally, not staff, I want staff to be briefed on the moratorium issue. I want to be briefed personally on the issues and the steps we're taking to make sure that permits are issued as quickly and as efficiently as possible.
Thank you.
And I'll have to agree with Senator Ingoglia as well. It seemed like all the things that you mentioned are truly local issues and not really legislative issues. However, I will say that our office hears a lot about all of those things and many other things. And we have conversations with staff, and I can tell you that Mr. Howard and Mr. Acosta, who is your new building department head, are working on those issues, and they've proposed perhaps using a new system that Mr. Acosta is more familiar with that may alleviate a good bit of that. And I'm hoping the county commission will evaluate those things.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Kimberly Smith is up next. You gotta make your name is a heck of a lot easier to pronounce.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you about something I never thought I would be speaking about, the public safety crisis in Florida prisons. Like most of you, I never thought this issue would affect me, but I've learned in the last few years that no matter who you are or who you think you are, one bad decision can humble you and your family. My son's financial crime, for which he is serving an 8-year prison sentence, has had a silver lining. It opened our eyes to the inhumanity taking place in the Florida prison system. I could speak to you for hours about the rats, the cockroaches, the staph infections, the violence and disrespect by officers, the inedible food, the forced unpaid labor, and a myriad of other real problems. Because of time, I wanted to bring your attention to the one thing I'm confident we can finally remedy, the lack of air conditioning in our prisons. Were you aware that aside from just a few facilities, our Florida prisons do not have air, have never had air? This is a shock to everyone I meet, even those who work in law enforcement. The cement buildings with metal roofs that warehouse your incarcerated constituents, cause them to bear temperatures reaching and surpassing 100 degrees in the summer. Can you imagine enduring this heat while you are locked in a building you can't escape from with 100 strangers, perhaps for years or decades or life? Can you imagine enduring the heat if you were elderly or had asthma or some other health condition made worse by heat? This is a recipe for violence, not to mention the mental health and suicide factors brought on by constant misery. The sentence should be the sentence, not the torturous conditions inside. Prisons that use dogs for training programs have rules where their animals can be housed and must be kept to a certain temperature range, but there are no such standards for the people housed there. This issue finally made the front pages of Florida newspapers this year because we've seen some of the highest temperatures our state has ever seen. The legislators who have already visited a prison can tell you that the inside temperature of these buildings is on average 15 degrees hotter than the outside temperature. On a summer day, it is unlivable. The DOC requires that ice water be provided to residents daily, but 100 men sharing a 5-gallon cooler does not last long. Our prisons should also be safe for staff and volunteers. There are currently hundreds of positions left vacant by the resignations of corrections officers. Installing AC would improve work conditions for them, attract quality applicants, as well as more volunteers. We must start treating these human beings like we would treat our neighbors, because 90% of these folks are returning to society and will be our neighbors one day, our future community workers, and perhaps our future employees. In closing, the goal of prison should be to prepare returning citizens to leave prison better than they go in, not worse. The harm done by a sentence should never be greater than the harm caused by the crime. I urge you to visit a prison in plain clothes and unannounced to see what it's really like for your incarcerated citizens. I urge you to support House Bill 181 to fund air conditioning in our prisons once and for all, and to stop the needless heat stroke, death, hopelessness, and long-term damage that goes along with not having it. I'm not asking you to be soft on crime. I'm asking you to be smart on crime. Thank you.
Thank you. Paulette Ritchie, Key Training Center. And behind Paulette, Matthew Creedle.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Paulette Ritchie. I am the parent of a Key Training Center client. I am more commonly known as Luke's mom. Ever since I became a parent, I have no identity of my own. I am also the current organizer of a parent support group called the Key Training Family Connection. Some members are sitting back there. Yeah. We appreciate the services our kids receive at the Key more than you can possibly imagine. We also very clearly see what these services entail. The Key and home-based community services that the Key offers, as well as similar organizations across Florida, are essential services for the lives of our developmentally delayed and intellectually delayed children. And this work is hard. It requires dedicated, smart, caring, kind staff who are paid nowhere near their worth. If you were to spend a day in an adult day training classroom or a weekend in a residence, I am convinced that you would be stunned at the incredible work that these people do. A couple of years ago, I went through a Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru. The young woman at the window addressed me essentially saying, "Oh, you're Luke's mom." I suggested she come back, we needed her, but she said, "No, I make more money here." I was stunned. In 2022, direct care staff did receive a higher wage when more funds were made for them available through the iBudget waiver. And our appreciation is beyond words. We thank you so much. But rate increases need to continue to help the Key fight unprecedented increases in health insurance, property insurance, gas, as well as other non-wage operational costs, and be able to hire and keep direct care staff. It has been decades since funding was made available for operating costs, fix-it costs, consumable costs. These present an enormous burden for fundraising. And much of our fundraising goes to scholarships for unfunded clients who, along with 22,000 other clients statewide, are on the waiting list for iBudget waiver dollars. Please support and encourage other Key Senate and House legislators in the Health and Human Legislative Committees to give at least a 6% rate increase to the base budget line item 241 in the 23-24 budget. We parents live in nearly constant angst that a beloved staff member is going to leave because he or she simply cannot live on the pay level. Our kids do not do well with staff turnover either. They need stability. You can give them that. Please give them that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Matthew Creedle, Marion County Board of County Commissioners. And behind Matthew, Jean McGee, AKA the handler.
Good afternoon, delegate members. Good to see you again, Senator. Good to see you, Rep. Massulo. I am Matt Creedle. I'm the Marion County's legislative manager. I'm here to ask for your support for an appropriations request. Marion County is filing on behalf of the District's 5 and 24 Medical Examiner Office. You heard Bill Gladson talk a little bit about it. Just want to bring it to your attention that we file it on behalf of the district. As you know, the district needs a new building. Outward expansion is not possible. Vertical expansion is not possible. So they're looking for a new site. In the sake of brevity, I will let you know that we're floating the bond for that, and we're going to get the member counties to work out how. Also, that Bill mentioned the Judicial Center upgrades. We're working on a new grand jury courtroom for him as well. So we'd ask for your support for the 5th Judicial Circuit judicial upgrades as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jean McGee, Lifestream Behavioral Healthcare.
Hello, Gene McGee, Lifestream Behavioral Healthcare. If I have 3 minutes, I'm going to spend the first 2 thanking you again. Unbelievable what you were able to do for this community through Lifestream. $2 million in recurring appropriations for operation of the central receiving facility. To date, or in the years past, we had to go to Tallahassee every year and advocate for this money, non-recurring, to operate a critical resource. Working together, the House and the Senate, that money is now recurring. There was also an additional $2 million in non-recurring and $2 million in capital to get a community behavioral health center out of the ground here in the Canto. The Citrus County Board of County Commissioners has contributed $2 million or pledged $2 million. Hernando County has pledged $2 million, and the state gave the $2 million in capital. Lifestream will come up with the other $6 million, and so in early 2024, this facility is going to be able to come out of the ground. It was unbelievable and fantastic what you 2 guys were able to do for this community through Lifestream with that funding. So thank you. This year, we're going to go a little easier. But they came up with an idea which it came late, but I applaud, and it's something this community really needs. They want to try a pilot project to address seniors who get involved in the Baker Act system, which shouldn't happen. They have dementia and other diseases of the mind that are not mental health issues. They shouldn't be Baker Acted. But a lot of times people with dementia get confused and irritated and frustrated, and it's mistaken for something that should be a Baker Act offense. Just as we treat adolescents differently when they're Baker Acted and are separated from regular adults, we believe we ought to treat seniors differently. And Coping for Dementia has been advocating for this in our community for years. So we've designed a pilot program that basically, on a voluntary basis, a senior's family can call to us, and much like a mobile response team, we will go and we'll have a respite care of up to 3 days for that senior, at which time we'll have care coordinators go into the home, examine the home, look for ways to improve the circumstance there, do a complete care program for this person to see what kind of care they need to make it better, and then get them back into the home and monitor them and take them under wrap services around them. I think you'll see this program really pay for itself because these seniors won't get involved in the Baker Act system by mistake. Not only will it improve the lives of these seniors, which Citrus County has a ton, second most elderly county in the state, I think we save money on the Baker Act end because it's the most expensive crisis care that we deliver is when we have to Baker Act somebody. So this program is a pilot program, 1-year funding basically for people, for 5 staff members who will administer this program. It's just a little short of $1 million that we're asking for. But I'd ask for that opportunity to try to prove to you that this program not only will work in this county, but across the state to try to reduce the number of seniors who get involved in the Baker Act system.
So I have a question just real
Sure.
quick. So if it's a 1-year pilot program, what are going to be the benchmarks? What's going to be the metric? What's going to be the data that we're going to collect? And if there's going to be data collected, how is that going to be used for expansion?
So I think the data that we could present to you is in past years, let's say in the past 5 years, how many seniors have been Baker Acted and then released because it's dementia. Like once they're examined, a law enforcement officer, all they see is, are they a danger to themselves or others, and they take them, right? And then we can't keep them in a Baker Act, and they're released and they're put back in the home. We can identify those people now that we have taken into the Baker Act system and then released or rejected. And I think we can document the number of seniors that we serve that did not have to be Baker Act or did not have to be placed in the system, and put a dollar amount to that.
So the money would be used, this specifically, the $1 million appropriation would be used for what?
For people, for basically their staff salaries. The vast majority of the staff salaries, care coordinators that get involved in these people's homes with their families and in their lives, wrap services around them to take care of them that keep them out of the Baker Act system. And it'll come to light when a senior's having a crisis episode that ordinarily they would be Baker Acted. But we would put beds aside, 5 beds aside in the central facility we're going to build to house these seniors as kind of respite care, so we can get into the home, get in with the families, and identify what's wrong and wrap services around them in an attempt so they never really come to a Baker Act.
So instead of sending them home, they're keeping them and they're holding them for a while.
3 days.
Just to make sure that, well, it would be different from a Baker Act, right, if they're diagnosed with dementia?
Well, it's voluntary. This program's all voluntary. Baker Act's an involuntary commitment, so this would be voluntary. The family would alert us. We would bring the senior in, keep them 3 days, just as really respite for the family, for the person. They're in a crisis. A lot of times that's dealt with involuntarily through Baker Act. We'd seek to deal with it voluntarily, have the care coordinators and experts go into the home, work with the families, see what the situation is at the home, see if we can improve that, see what services we can deliver in the home through telehealth or direct service provision to make the situation better, to calm the crisis down, to get this to be a better situation for the senior, to deal with their dementia so that it doesn't bleed over into an involuntary commitment for Baker Act, which is, a diagnosed mental illness.
I just have a couple comments.
Sure.
I think it's a great idea, and it seems like you're going to be doing a retrospective analysis of these individuals that have been Baker Acted before. I believe, though, statutorily, we have ways that we're basically taking the rights away from those individuals that are Baker Acted. Are you going to have these families have a power of attorney over these other individuals to be able to put them in this 3-day program?
It's a great question. I think they're going to have a power of attorney over the individual, even to involuntarily commit them. Because many times with dementia, with my mom, I have her power of attorney. She suffers from dementia. So if I made the decision that she needed a care or service like that, I would be able to do it. The person themselves wouldn't be able to. So I think the answer to your question is yes.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Lisa Moore and Steve Lamb, Save Crystal River.
I too would like to thank you for all that you've done in the past and what you're getting ready to do in the future. We are Save Crystal River. We are knee-deep in restoring the Kings Bay estuary. It is a wonderful private-public partnership that has yielded amazing results. We've removed 600 million pounds of blue-green algae called Lingbia that was choking, literally killing our bay. We've planted over 500,000 Valsenaria plants, and they have expanded into over 300 acres. Kings Bay is 600 acres, so we're getting there. And when we started out, well, of course, we didn't know what we didn't know, and we had a pilot project that was successful, and we started out into the canals in the main part of the bay. And we have now cleaned and planted 92 acres. We have learned that there's another 85 acres that we need to clean to make sure this project is sustainable for the future of ourselves and, of course, our grandkids. And I will tell you that's why I got involved in this project in the first place. The legislature, the DEP, the FWC have been absolutely wonderful to work with. We've been funded approximately $4 million a year for 8 years, and we are asking for another $4 million this year to continue our project.
Thank you. Is that it?
I just got a couple comments. we have, both of us have worked fairly closely with Secretary Hamilton, and he strongly believes in this project, wants to use it as a model for the state of what we can accomplish. And I know for a fact that he has it very high on his list, not just for the appropriations you asked for, but for actually using monies that we basically put in the budget for springs restoration, for restoring some waterways, and even for some of our runoffs. So I think you're going to benefit for years to come. But thank you for all your hard work with that.
And we had one more quick little ask for another pilot project that we want to do in Kings Bay. We found out as a result of the Kings Bay Restoration Project that the 4 islands that are the protection, they're kind of like inland barrier islands for the entire community on the south and the eastern side of Kings Bay, are deteriorating at an incredible rate. Some of them have actually been cut in half by storm action, boating action, predation on the roots of the sawgrass that surrounds them, and a number of other activities that have caused them to reduce in their size by 125 acres of just that little bit inside of Kings Bay over the last about 50 years. If we lose those islands, we lose our habitat, we lose the protection for our springs. They're at the core of the Manatee Refuge over there, and our shorelines of much of our community will be open to the next Hurricane Idalia that will come in with a huge storm surge because there's no barrier to break that coming along the way. What we want to propose is a maintenance project where we go in there and do dredging on the north side of the island and take out, it's got a land bridge that's forming, so it's cutting off the flow of water into the area behind it, which is the area we just restored in the Kings Bay Restoration Project. So it's creating an algae sink and a sand sink behind it. We want to put wads across about 550 linear feet across the out. They're wave attenuation devices, and they break the action of the waves. Then we plant grasses behind it, and that allows the island to actually build back. They're doing this currently at the Skyway Bridge, and it's coming along amazingly. If you've ever seen how much area they're restoring down there, Apollo Beach, Caloosahatchee Bay, they're putting these wads in everywhere. And then we'll plant all those plants behind it that will restore the habitat and increase the size of those islands and protect it from any more loss. So that is our ask. The benefits will enable those islands to stabilize and grow back, and our community will be protected. And this would also, by doing this pilot project at Parker Island, this would provide a pilot project for the other 3 islands in Kings Bay and also for the restoration of other barrier islands in the state of Florida. We did it with the Kings Bay Restoration Project. If we can prove this works here in Crystal River, we may save communities from the massive storm surge and wave action that happens with a lot of boating in the future.
Thank you. Mike O'Connell, FLCA.
Thank you.
Guys, before we start, I know everyone has a bunch of stuff that they're handing out to us. I would encourage you guys, when you ask for future delegations, when you ask to be put on the agenda, to email any supporting documents to us, because we have them here in front of us. So instead of doing handouts, please just email them to us and we'll get them in our packets. You are recognized, sir. Sir, can you just state what the acronym stands for everyone?
Florida Citizens Alliance. My name is Michael O'Connell. I am pleased to represent Florida Citizens Alliance with its growing influence in both education policy and education solutions for Florida's 3 million students. FLCA currently has over 250,000 active supporters and local leaders in over 20 of Florida's 67 counties. In your briefing materials is our 2024 K-12 11-point legislative agenda and some suggested bill language. With limited time, I would like to address a few items on the agenda. For item number 1, harmful for minors. And item 2, opt-in. FLCA has successfully led a statewide movement demanding the removal of sexual explicit materials with our 2019 and more recently our 2021 porn report for all 67 Florida counties. To quote Sheriff Grady Judd, many of these obscene materials are sexually grooming young children to be sex trafficked. House Bill 1069 from last session was a step in the right direction, but there is still more to do. It is up to the legislature to repeal the several loopholes in FS 847.012 that the school districts exploit, including the Miller test. Senator Grall's bill that was filed last year, SB 1620, was great language to achieve this, including restrictions to access online pornography. Hand in hand with this repeal effort is to add a true opt-in to the parental rights law. Currently, parents are required to opt in for their child to play sports or even get an aspirin from the school nurse. But their children can be sexually exploited daily without parental knowledge. I have provided an example of opt-in language in your packet. Moving to item 4, we need to create a definition for social emotional learning, also known as SEL, and ban it in Florida. Many school districts are partnering with companies that push SEL through their mental health allocation plans. SEL teaches there are no absolute truths and only your feelings matter. This sort of belief has no need to be in our schools, especially with the educational standards Florida has. Oklahoma has bill language that we believe would address this, which is included in the packet I have provided. Thank you for listening and hopefully being a champion to rescue our children, or continuing to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, John Labriola, Christian Family Coalition. And behind John is Angela Kennedy. You recognize.
Good afternoon, Senator Ingoglia and Representative Massulo. My name is John Labriola. I represent the Christian Family Coalition. It's a statewide organization, pro-family organization that advocates for family values, religious liberties, and parental rights. And I'm pleased to follow the last speaker. I wanted to piggyback on him because we support pretty much that entire agenda, but in particular wanted to emphasize the Harmful to Minors Act. As he said, Senator Grall introduced a bill last year, not this past session, on that would have, in addition to restricting access to pornographic materials in the schools, would have had language in there to address online pornography in general, requiring strict age verification for these sites so that minors, whether they're on school grounds or anywhere else, can't access these pornographic sites. I believe Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas, and 1 or 2 other states are working on this type of legislation, so we would really like to see that in this coming session, especially in light of the fact that that Speaker Renner has stated that he wants this session to focus on protecting children's innocence. So really encourage you to, I don't know if there's anybody on the House side that is taking that up. I believe Senator Grall has vowed to bring that back in this session, so I would encourage you to definitely try to get that passed as well in the House. In addition to that, I sent you a package, which is probably before you. There is a number of items on that agenda. I don't know if I'll be able to get to all of them, but first, we wanted to commend both of you for the bill HB 1069 that was passed in the last session, which basically provided protections to not just students, but teachers in terms of not being subjected to the gender ideology, the forced use of preferred pronouns, et cetera. And we want to see in this session that extended to cover all public employees. So whether they work for a county, city, they have the same protections, not being forced to use certain gender or being forced to use certain pronouns or being subjected to HR trainings that have gender ideology elements in it. So I provided rather extensive, draft language that could be presented, but I wanted to just update you on the fact that we do have a sponsor already on the House side, and we're looking for one on the Senate side for that language. So we look forward to that as well. In addition to that, we're proposing legislation in light of last year's passage in Congress of the so-called Respect for Marriage Act, codifying same-sex language, same-sex marriage into federal law, to amend RFRA to specifically protect citizens' rights of conscience, to not have to, like, a baker being forced to bake a same-sex wedding cake. The others are in your package, and if you have any questions on those, please feel free to contact me. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And sorry, real quickly, I just want to thank Senator Ingoglia for putting the language into drafting form for the RFRA amendment. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Angela Kenny, Executive Director of PACE Center for Girls, Citrus County.
Good afternoon, Senator Ingoglia and Representative Massulo. My name is Angela Lobianco Kennedy, and I'm the new Executive Director of PACE Center for Girls Citrus. With me today is Shara Alexander, our Social Services Manager, and Chloe, one of our PACE girls. We'd like to thank you for the unwavering support of the work that we do. I know you're very familiar with PACE, but a few pieces of information about the Citrus Center. We opened in the 2018-2019 school year, and we are one of 21 centers across the state. We can serve up to 50 girls in our day program and 40 in our REACH program. This past year, of the 82 girls served at our center, 74% of them came to us with 4 or more adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, which include behavioral, school, victimization, physical or mental health, and family instability risks. In fiscal year 23, 78% of our girls came to us having failed 1 or more classes. By the end of the year, 94% of the girls who transitioned out of PACE improved her reading and or math. 77% came to us disengaged with the community, but 79% transitioned successfully engaged in her community. Chloe would like to say a few words about her experience as a PACE girl.
Good afternoon. My name is Chloe, and I am a senior at PACE Citrus. I moved here from Missouri with low grades and low confidence. I felt as if I had no future for myself. Moving right before my senior year was so hard, and then I was supposed to just go to a huge public school where I didn't know anyone. I was at a very low point in my life. I had no interest in school. My friends, my life, and everything was back in Missouri. My mom was really worried, so she talked to the counselor at my base school, and they told us about PACE Citrus. My mom and I went for a tour, and I signed up. Since becoming a PACE girl, my life has been positively impacted in so many ways. As soon as I came here, the whole staff prioritized my needs and made a plan for me, for my future. My counselor and teachers showed me every day that they value me as a young woman and that they actually care about my future. Everyone makes sure that I am meeting my academic and personal goals, and they even make sure my mom gets regular updates too. It's PACE staff like Miss Angela and Miss Tiara who inspire me and the other PACE girls to become a better version of myself. Because of PACE, I have an opportunity. I have a chance to go to college. I did not have that before. I believe in myself, and they show me how, because they believe in me too. I can honestly say today I have self-worth, I can succeed, and I will always be a PACE girl. I want to thank this delegation for not only believing in me, but for believing in and supporting the thousands of other PACE girls all over Florida who are just like me. Thank you.
Chloe,
Yeah, we're going to have questions for her.
Yeah.
I know you are. So I'm not sure that as a teenager, I could have stood up in front of a room full of adults and talked about myself the way Chloe just did. This is what PACE does. And we are so grateful to have the support of the lawmakers of our great state. I'd like to personally invite you to visit the PACE Citrus Center in Lecanto anytime. And I especially want to pre-invite you to the groundbreaking and eventual ribbon cutting for our future building, which would be impossible without the legislative appropriation we received. We have acquired the land for our capital project at the corner of West Grover, Cleveland and 491, and we hope to be up and running in our new facility within 2 years. So I know you have questions, but we also look forward to seeing you PACE Day at the Capitol on January 17th. Go ahead,
You want to
Chloe.
go first?
Yeah, I don't have a question. I just want to compliment you, Chloe, on your courage. I know Senator Ingoglia particularly can be somewhat intimidating, I think you did an excellent job.
Thank you.
Because it takes a lot of courage to stand up here, but it takes more courage to do what you're doing and change your life. And I know you have great support at PACE here in Citrus and with amazing people. But it's you that have to actually do the work, and you've done that. And we wish you the best.
Thank
Now
you.
he can grill you.
Am I intimidating?
Not really.
No, see. I think it's the gray beard and the black. It just always looks like I have a frown on. How old?
I am 17 years old.
Where are you going to college?
Not really for sure right now, but I do want to go into cosmetology and then go into business to open my own salon.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So it's one of the things I enjoy asking the questions for attendees for a pay center for girls is, you know, normally, and I shouldn't say it's normal, but I've seen a lot of girls enter who really didn't have any future. They thought they didn't have any future. And, you know, they thought, you know, for one reason or another, because of past things that happened in their lives, that their future was limited. But that is just truly not the case. So, and I just want, and are you going to be coming up to Tallahassee?
Yes.
You're going to be one of the ones? Okay. Please come visit me because I enjoy talking to the girls. I enjoy seeing that they see that their future is unlimited. And it's empowering and it's awesome to see. So I want to thank you for taking your time out today. And when you guys come up to Tallahassee, I promise to give you all money for ice cream and burgers or whatever you guys want, because we appreciate what you're doing, but we appreciate the hard work that you're putting into it.
Thank you.
All right, you got that. Stephen Mingai, Homosassa River Restoration Project. Hey, Steve.
Hi. If I had known I was following Chloe, I think I would have just left. I just wanted to give you a quick update today on where our restoration project stands at the moment and what we would like to accomplish next year. The area of river that we're restoring has broken down into 3 phases. Phase 1, encompassing almost 24 acres, has already been cleaned and planted. We've removed over 120 million pounds of muck and planted over 130,000 grass units so far in Phase 1. Due to some extreme delays from Army Corps, we just received our permit for Phases 2 and 3 about a month ago. We were literally in the water 3 days, I think, after getting our permit, and we have been working 7 days a week since that time. Unfortunately, at least at this point, we have to be out of the water November 15th for winter manatee season. And I say at this point because right after we received our permit, we had a meeting with FWC, DEP, Army Corps, and a few other agencies to request that they allow us to do some winter work this year. It'll be limited, but I'm optimistic that we're going to get approval and we'll be able to work throughout the winter season. Thanks to your work on our behalf last year, we currently have enough funding to complete all of Phase 2. Our ask for next year is going to be the same as last year, and if we can get that coupled with our Springs funding, that will give us enough money to finish all of Phase 3. At that point, all of the blue waters in Homosassa, which is approximately 50 acres, will be restored. Now, if you're not too familiar with the blue waters, Homosassa, they may go out scalloping, everybody goes out fishing, but at the end of the day, they end up back in the blue waters where they're going to anchor, swim in the fresh water, spend the day, the rest of the day there. Those waters have not been blue for a long time. They're more green than anything else. So with your continued help and support, we're hoping to turn those waters blue again. Thank you.
Steve, I have a quick question. I know
Yes.
I remember having discussions with you guys about the Army Corps putting up roadblocks and barriers. I know that we have contacted some federal agencies. Did any of that help? Because I know we reached out to Senator Rubio's office to see if they can help, or was it just more you staying on them? And
I'm not sure exactly what helped. I don't know if it was your calls. We did reach out to Congressman Bill Arakis' office, and his staff was great also. So I believe between all of that, we must have shook something loose because suddenly they started responding to our emails and our phone calls, whereas before we were getting nothing, and that was for months at a time. We applied before COVID.
Wow.
That's how long ago. So thank you for your help with that.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Art Jones, one rake at a time, and behind Art is Mosa Walker Key Training Center.
Yeah, Art Jones, One Rake at a Time. I'm the president and founder of One Rake at a Time, and I want to thank you both for supporting the Rainbow River Restoration Project. We're following what happened in Kings Bay and now Homosassa, and we're starting it up in the Rainbow River because we don't want to see that turn into a Kings Bay in the future. Anyway, Sean Hamilton and the governor have stated that DEP is committed to protecting waters and natural resources, and it's vital for the agency's mission to work cooperatively with community stakeholder groups and state and local and federal agencies. Well, as we're starting this project up in the Rainbow River, we're scouting around where is the best dewatering site, because you have houses on one side, and then on the other side, you've got some state parklands and stuff. Well, we found the sewage treatment plant, which the city sold to Fuga, but most of the land was given to the Florida Greenways. And there are two huge retention ponds there that have never been used. They're like 1.5 acre retention ponds that were built for emergencies. They've never been used. Perfect place for a dewatering site. So we went to the Florida Greenways manager, Mickey Thomason, and we asked him, can we use this site? It made sense. He works for the DEP. It's the DEP state-funded project. Of course they're going to say yes. But instead, he sent us a letter that said, after sending it up the chain for consideration and feedback, I was advised that our department has worked with these types of projects before multiple times and has been stuck with spoiled materials on our lands that was not properly removed as originally intended. At this point, it looks like the answer is negative on our willingness to allow material removed from the Rainbow River project to be planted, to be put on Greenway lands. Well, we have alternatives. We can rent some private land nearby, but then we've got to go in and take down trees and build berms and do all sorts of things. It's adding expense to this project. So we called him on the phone. We said, who up the chain said no? He wouldn't tell us. So we got stonewalled. We asked him for an example of what spoils were left, what project he was talking about. He didn't want to say. So we got stonewalled. We know that Sea and Shoreline, the same contractor that's been working in Kings Bay and Homosassa, do an excellent job. Every place they've ever done dewatering has been cleaned up and put back exactly the way it was meant to be. So I'm asking for your help in this. We want to get all the agencies working together, right? This is DEP. So I'm not sure where that came from, but if you can help solve that problem, it would make a lot of sense to use that facility. It's right in the middle of the lower Rainbow River. It's big enough for the entire 25 acres as this project goes forward to get all the muck up there processed. And all the muck we've ever put there has been put on farmland.
So, just a comment. So I hear what you're saying. I hear what they're saying. So from their standpoint, not saying that you are a bad actor, but I can see their standpoint saying that, we get stuck with some of these spoils and then, it's not removable. Or it is removable and they're going to incur the cost. And from your standpoint, you want a place that is, I guess, symbiotic with what you're doing in order to help. So what I would suggest to them is a performance bond. I mean, you can get, just like any construction company can get a performance bond, you are guaranteeing that it's going to be clean.
Right.
So if their main concern is that they're going to be stuck with the spoils and they're going to have to incur cost, time, and energy to remove them, just ask them. So if that's their issue, then just basically call them out on it and says, okay, we'll just go get a performance bond. Are you okay with that, to guarantee that it's going to be left in the original way that you, and see how they respond?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we needed to get Sean in on this or what, because it seems like one agency is working against another part of the same agency.
Give them the opportunity to solve the problem themselves by giving them the tools to say yes.
All right.
So if you
and then we can copy you on that, and you can.
Yeah, I mean, you can copy. You could just make sure you can go get talk to an insurance agent. Make sure you can get a performance bond.
Yeah, well, the Sea and Shoreline does that.
Yeah,
they have all their own insurance. They've never had a problem.
So you're taking away, by doing that, you're taking away their criticisms and their concerns.
Yeah.
Now, if they still say no, then it's something other than that.
Well, I was curious as when I said, who's saying no? Who's your higher up? And they stonewalled us. They didn't want to say. And I'm
In
like,
government, that's called CYA.
So that's why I wanted to bring it to you guys.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Melissa Walker, Key Training Center.
Okay.
Hold on one second.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hi. Cool.
You're good.
Great. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not Melissa Walker. I'm Teresa Flick. Melissa Walker is sick today, so she asked me to talk in her place. I am the program director at the Key Training Center, and I'd like to thank you, Senator and Representative, for your time. The Key Training Center is submitting a Florida State Appropriation Special Project Request sponsored by Senator Dennis Baxley and Representative Ralph Massulo for a total project of $200,000, and we would really appreciate your support. The Key Training Center has a 57-year history of providing intellectually and developmentally disabled adults with social, educational, vocational, employment, recreational, and residential services. The Key Center serves approximately 300 individuals on a year-round basis. The special project's goal would be to establish within the Key Training Center's career exploration track technology, resources, and business environment to deliver vocational training and employment services to adults with intellectual disabilities who are also economically challenged due to a lack of employment skills. This effort will align with the Agency for Persons with Disabilities' new LSD-4 service to have people employed. Key Center vocational staff will be specially trained in technology that has been created to diminish and eliminate barriers faced by people with disabilities, especially barriers to employment. This has been an area that Key Center has fallen behind on in providing the technical resources that young people need today, including people with intellectual disabilities. Computers, smartboards, tablets, and mobile devices equipped with specialized software applications and virtual reality technology that would allow developmentally disabled individuals to learn and practice employment, social, professional skills to lead to independence and a brighter future. The approach involves practicing various scenarios such as job interviews, training, social interactions, and conflict resolution by responding to common questions. And these interactions can capture video and audio recordings, allowing the users to simulate real-life situations and trainers to review and help improve the trainees' skills and report deliverables on the back end. Getting them a step closer to gaining meaningful employment and keeping up with the rest of the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Barbara Robertson, Guardian ad litem. I don't think I don't see her either. Pat McCray, Convention of States Action. Barbara Wheeler and Barbara Venditto, Mid-Florida Homeless Coalition. Oh, Pat McCray? Okay.
Thank you. I did think someone was coming up before me. I would thank you, Representative Ingoglia and Senator Ingoglia and Representative Massulo for the representation that you give to the people of our county, and for giving me the opportunity to speak to you on behalf of Convention of States Project. I am a volunteer with Convention of States, and in the next few minutes, I hope to give you some insight on Convention of States' mission and our goal. Our mission is to build the strongest group of self-governing grassroots citizens that this county has seen in order to return our republic to the governance of we the people, centered in the states. That was the original intent of our founders. And our goal to use Article 5 of the Constitution of the United States to call a convention of states. This power is every bit as legitimate as congressional power to propose and pass amendments of the same article. This is not a constitutional convention. It will not, it cannot throw out or replace the Constitution. The participating states, at least 34 in the convention, can only propose amendments that will fit within the topics of the application adopted by the state legislators supporting the convention. Once amendments are proposed, they must be voted on by 38 states for them to become a law. And with these high hurdles, a runaway convention is not possible. We currently have 19 states that have passed the identical resolution within each state. The resolution includes considering amendments regarding term limits on Congress and federal officials, imposing fiscal restraints on the federal government, and limiting the power of the federal government, giving the power back to the people and their states. Florida was the third state to pass the resolution in April of 2014. Some who are opposed to calling a convention of states are currently trying to influence our state representatives into rescinding our resolution. And I plead with you not to let this happen. I and many others believe that the Convention of States is our best opportunity to save our nation. Presently, we have 5 million supporters nationwide throughout every state, and right here in House District 23, we have over 4,000 supporters. And we continually bring in new supporters indicating to you, their representatives, that they are in favor of calling a convention of states. Washington, D.C. is broken and will never voluntarily relinquish power, no matter who is elected. The federal government is spending this country into the ground, seizing power from the states and taking liberty from the people. We have a solution that is bigger than the problem. Only a convention of states has the constitutional power to repair the damage and keep the federal government from further eroding the liberties of the sovereign citizens. So I'm asking you, as our representatives, to continue to support Convention of States against any rescission efforts until the convention is called. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Convention of States will also be in Tallahassee on February 20th. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara Wheeler and Barbara Venditto, Mid-Florida Homeless Coalition. Behind them, Rosemary Nillis, I think that's how you pronounce it, Maxine Connor. You're right.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to come here before you today. I am Barbara Venditto. I am the incoming Executive Director for Mid-Florida Homeless Coalition. We are the lead agency for Citrus, Hernando, Lake, and Sumter counties. We are also known as the Continuum of Care, or the COC. First, we thank you for your support for the DCF budget last year that included an increase in our staffing grant. We also appreciate your support for the increase in the challenge grant and the resurrection of the homeless housing assistance grant out of general revenue. At a time when the number of people who are experiencing homelessness continues to increase, we are here to ask you to support the above-mentioned funding in the 2024 budget. There is nothing easy about helping a family who has been evicted because their jobs don't pay enough to be able to afford a doubling in the cost of rent. During the past state fiscal year, 32 households were rehoused and provided 12 months or more of case management throughout the COC. An additional 89 households were exited from these programs after successfully remaining stably housed for more than 12 months. Help us to continue helping those who need housing. As the cost of rentals have increased, the number of people on fixed income, such as senior citizens and people with medical issues, such as kidney disease, have found themselves on the street. This can only be addressed by having more housing available for those who live on a fixed income. Therefore, we continue to ask you to support the Sadowski Trust Fund and the work of the Florida Housing Finance Corporation. I look forward to the opportunity to meet with you and your staff to further discuss the needs of those on the cusp or are experiencing homelessness in our streets. Mid-Florida Homeless Coalition has implemented best practices to prevent and divert and end homelessness one household at a time. We need your help to continue the progress that is being made, and smaller lead agencies like Mid-Florida Homeless Coalition depend on you and these funds to continue services in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Rosemary Nilles and Maxine Connor for the League of Women Voters Citrus County, and behind them, Devon Carrillo.
Thank you. I'm Rosemary Nilles with the Nonpartisan League with a few brief requests for the 2024 session. First, elections. With the various changes to mail-in voting, we ask that you allocate funds to local elections officials so that they can educate voters about the changes. Second, gun violence prevention is another priority of the League. Firearms are the #1 cause of child deaths in this country. Unsecured guns contribute to these deaths. Unsecured guns are also often stolen from cars and then used to commit crimes. The League asks you to strengthen our child access prevention laws and that you provide funding for public education on secure storage and provide incentives to purchase gun locks and safes. In turn, we will continue to work to increase awareness of safe firearm storage in our communities. We also ask you to increase awareness of Florida's risk protection order law. There's $15 million in federal funding available from the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act that Florida didn't access. Also, we ask that you hold the line on expansion of gun laws, such as lowering the age to purchase a gun, permitting open carry, or changing the waiting period. For the protection of our election workers, we also ask that you protect sensitive places involved in elections, not just polling places, but elections offices and places where vote tally occurs should be gun-free areas. Thank you. Maxine.
Good afternoon. Maxine Connor from Citrus League of Women Voters, Natural Resources Chair and Co-Chair of the State Clean Energy Committee. Thank you so much for coming. First and foremost, we would sincerely like to thank you for supporting the cleanup of our rivers and streams year after year. It's so important here. We do have a concern that we could use your help with, if possible. This year, our governor turned down $346 million in federal energy efficiency money, and which you had wisely budgeted for, and we appreciate. It would have come from federal tax dollars that Floridians paid and would have returned here to be used by them. It would have saved money on electric bills and conserved energy, and it hurt little, because it didn't come, it hurt low to middle income folks the most. Most states took the funds except Florida and a few other states. The funding earmarked for Florida came from the Inflation Reduction Act and bipartisan infrastructure law. It was for energy efficiency home improvement rebates and energy efficient home appliance purchases. It included funding for electrification contractors. Because our governor vetoed the funding for programs to set this up, Florida withdrew its application for the funds. So please keep our economy and your constituents' best interests in mind, but once again, including the seed money in next budget so that hopefully the grants can be applied for next year. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Devon Carrillo, Sierra Club Adventure Coast Group, and behind her, Gerard Mulligan and David Reed for the YMCA.
Good afternoon. My name's Devon. I represent the Sierra Club Adventure Coast Group here in Citrus and Hernando. And I want to ask you to please take the climate crisis seriously. It's obvious, especially in Citrus, that hurricanes and storms are growing stronger and more destructive, and rising sea levels are creating sunny day flooding that will increase. Instead of bold action to create resilient communities, your governor continues to veto our tax dollars earmarked to help us. So who are the leaders who will invest in our future? Also, we do want you to fund regional resiliency planning now or end up paying more later for disaster funds. And we also ask, supported by a Tampa Bay editorial, to support full funding for the Florida Forever and for the wildlife corridor and rural lands. That's very important. We note that rising temperatures are affecting crops, displacing wildlife, and promoting harmful algal blooms. Our utility bills are driven up by the heat, yet you continue to allow corporate utilities to gouge the public. It's a public monopoly, and it's your job to hold them accountable. Distributed solar could bring good-paying jobs to the Sunshine State. Solar power and electric vehicles are the cheapest, most secure way to power homes and businesses and reduce utility costs. And before you set a tax on EVs and hybrids, please explore alternatives for a fair solution that won't burden this emerging market. Does the FLDOT budget need more funds, or is it bloated to accommodate new toll roads to nowhere? Sierra Club opposes new nuclear reactors for electricity that utilize the fission process because of the dangers posed by the probable releases of the tritanium used, the problems with decommissioning these plants, and their high costs. The insurance market in Florida is a mess with skyrocketing premiums and insurers leaving the state. Clean energy would reduce climate change impacts that could stabilize this market. I have friends who've had to drop their home property insurance. I'm Florida born and raised, and we Floridians cherish our freedom. But you've stripped local governments run by local citizens of the freedom to address climate change, improve water quality, and protect our natural resources by reducing single-use plastic waste and limiting the use of toxic herbicides and pesticides, as in the past. Sierra would like to work with the county to implement a rainy season urban fertilizer ordinance to reduce nutrient loading, as over 100 Florida communities have, with no adverse impacts, no legal challenges, and great results per a fact-based study I submitted into the record for your review. But you passed a law prohibiting such local action and directing IFAS to study the issue that will produce a biased evaluation given their position opposing such ordinances and their ties to industry. Finally, restricting voting serves no one. There's no widespread fraud. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you again, Blaise, and to you, Representative Massulo. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Gerard Mulligan and David Reed for YMCA. Next behind them, Brad Rimby, Florida Springs Council.
Thank you for having us. You guys have a tough job. Representative Massulo, we're going to miss you as you exit this group. You've done a great job representing our community. My name is Jerry Mulligan. I'm a volunteer with the YMCA. And as a reminder, the YMCA in Citrus County, we built a facility here back in 2016, and we raised $8.3 million in contributions from local people and local businesses to make this happen. Didn't use government money to do this. We used community money to build this tremendous asset, and we've been serving senior citizens and working families in our community for years. Many in our growing senior population are faced with isolation and loneliness. It's very difficult, and the Y has developed all of these programs to try to meet those needs and both provide exercise and some socialization for them. We currently serve more than 7,000 seniors in Citrus County. We have 12,500 members of our organization. We do all these great things for kids too. My favorite is that every second grader in Citrus County gets free swim lessons from the YMCA. We're doing our part to fight drowning in this community of children. We partner with the school system to do the before and after program in each one of the elementary schools in the county. More than 1,000 families take advantage of this each year. I tell you all of that because we are very active and very involved and very community driven. And right now, as you know, Citrus County is growing. We're going through a spurt in growth, and our YMCA is really at a maximum level right now. One of the cool things about our institution is that each year we hold an event, one night event. We raise $300,000 in that single night in contributions from community members. Why? To make sure that there's a place for every citizen, every resident of this county at the Y. We will subsidize membership fees for everybody who comes along and cannot afford them. The explosive growth, though, is making this difficult. We're, as I say, our facility in Lecanto is at a maximum level. We want to expand it right now. We're asking your assistance. We're asking for a $2 million allocation. We want to provide another 5,000 square feet of classroom space for seniors to come and take classes, another 7,500 square feet outside for covered basketball courts and pickleball courts for both children and for adults. we have requested this $2 million, and we know this is the first time we've come forward to do something like this, but we are pressed right now to meet this growing population demand that we have. The growth is good. We're not opposed to that, but we would like your assistance. We'd like you to consider helping us out and expanding this facility. We have expanded programs in a number of different places. You know, we're talking about building a new Y in the Inverness area. There's great demand in Citrus County for this kind of service, and we're not out there creating problems. We're helping people solve problems, and we request your help.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. I want to just say one comment about the why. I know it's getting late in the day, but I want to thank you all for your hard work, because you don't only address the health and wellness of our citizens, but you look at the educational opportunities for our children and our adults, and you're socializing our community, which is so important if we want to continue to build our society as great Floridians and great Americans. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Brad Rimby, Florida Springs Council. And behind him, Jack Schofield. That's okay.
So what I want to talk about today is an issue in Homosassa that's been a thorn in the side of the Homosassa River Alliance. I'm also the vice president of the Homosassa River Alliance. And a couple of months ago, I got a phone call from one of our members who lives close to the mainspring on Pepper Creek, which is a tributary to the Homosassa River and empties in right around the mainspring. She told me there was a discoloration or a cloudiness to the mainspring, and she knew that construction of a 7-Eleven had just started. Well, the construction had been going on, but they had started digging the pits for the fuel tanks. There's 2 fuel tanks going in there, and the Homosassa River Alliance has thought this was a bad idea to begin with. So I went up to the construction site and took a look at it. They had stopped what they were doing because they dug down 3 feet and hit water, and the construction site was flooded. So they were trying to figure out what to do. They dug a retention pond, kind of ad hoc. And when I went over and looked at the bottom of the retention pond, they uncovered another bubbler in that, and that was filling with water just from the groundwater coming in. So what I'm hoping that you can do is get DEP involved in fuel tank installations in sensitive areas, because this is within 3/4 of a mile of Homosassa Mainspring. It's within a stone's throw of the Homosassa Springs State Park. And bluntly, we have enough 7-Elevens in Citrus County as far as I'm concerned already, but that's just not the right place for putting fuel tanks. And unfortunately, the county commission approved that. They didn't have any way to exclude it, in their opinion. And what seems to be the failing in the system is that DEP doesn't get involved in something like this from the get-go, that they got involved after this was going on, and they put up silt barriers around the black sheeting that you see around the edge of road construction. They were unaware that there was a seep on the property, and when there's they might have just thought it was a mud hole or something, because it's not really flowing very much. It used to be a small spring, according to a guy that worked at the motel that's directly adjacent to this back in the 60s. He knew it was a small spring, but all of our springs have degraded and flow sufficiently from the 60s, where it's just a seep now. But I talked to the construction manager for the fuel tank installation, and I asked him, I said, do you guys know that you're going to hit water within 3 feet of digging, and you're going to have to go down, 12 feet or whatever, to maybe 15 to put these tanks in? What do you think is going to happen when you get that deep? Oh, we deal with this all the time down in Miami. And it's like, well, if Miami is setting the bar for springs protection, that's a pretty low bar, because they've killed their springs that used to come out in Biscayne Bay. And somehow DEP needs to get involved in the decision-making from the beginning, because the onus is being put on the counties, each individual county, to have something to protect environmentally sensitive areas from fuel tank installations. So if you can make that happen, I'd be a happy camper.
Yeah, so this has been on my radar. Commissioner Bays has been texting me about this issue. We've reached out to DEP. We're still trying to get information of, did they contemplate groundwater intrusion upon issuing the permit? We really haven't gotten a sufficient answer on that.
I haven't either.
So we're still trying to figure out how exactly this happened. Look, I mean, if somehow they put something in or they have a mitigation plan on mitigating groundwater intrusion, it hasn't been shared with any of us. So we would really like to know how we do that. You know, I think as far as the process goes, the the ERP that's issued on this is just issued. I don't know if DEP has any oversight on top and over and above in terms of permitting like certain phases, sort of like the way you build a home. You have, you know, a framing inspection, electrical inspection, sheeting inspection, and you go forward. I don't know what their process is, but we're trying to get that information also.
Okay.
So, I mean, it has been slow trying to get the information, and the commissioner and I have been we've been texting back and forth for about 2 months on this stuff, so we've been trying to get some of this information.
Okay. Yeah, I know DEP
So just know it's not
has,
falling on deaf ears. We're trying to get some of this information.
Okay. The DEP has been going reportedly to the mainspring and taking water clarity sampling daily, you know, just to see whether anything changes and whether they can relate it to what's going on at the construction site. So, but it's kind of retroactive, you know, they really weren't involved until I started calling my contacts at SwiftMud, and then they called DEP, and I sent them an article from a guy that had written down in about the seep that's on the property. And it's just like, you know, how closely did people really look at this? And I mean, we now have priority focus areas for springs protection, and this is 3/4 of a mile from
So it's
spring.
outside of a PFA, but inside of BMAP?
It's within the PFA too. I
It's
think.
within
I
the
mean,
PFA.
3/4 of a mile from the mainspring. It's got to be.
Okay.
You know, it's on the west side of 19, so I'm pretty sure that's going to be you know, in the protected. So it just seems like somebody dropped the ball, or the system isn't really functioning the way I think it should. I'm a retired engineer, so I got my own ideas about what needs to be done, but it definitely didn't seem to be happening on this one.
Okay, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Jack Schofield, and I see you're representing WAR. Can you explain what that is?
Sure, with Lakuchi Aquatic Restoration.
You are
We
recognized.
spoke to you a year ago, and first of all, I want to thank your staffs and all the legislators that I've worked with, Representative Massulo, your staff, Senator, both Chuck Clemens and Keith Perry. This situation involves obviously multiple districts and both also congressional districts. And I just wanted to give you an update as to where we are. We had our annual meeting last year in January, and we had good participation from our local governments and our Board of County Commissioners from both counties of Citrus and Levy. We then began the process of reaching out to all of our legislators and also our congressman, Bilirakis, and Congresswoman Kamak. Congresswoman Kamak made a site visit to the barge canal with us, with the intent of what we're wanting to correct is from the construction of the Cross Florida Barge Canal, the disconnection of the lower with Lakuchi, so that its natural flows and currents that used to come down the lower with Lakuchi were redirected down the barge canal. Okay. We met with her, did the site visits, and we now are moving to the next stage. She immediately reached out to the Colonel James Booth at the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and started to set up an appointment. Unfortunately, it happened, the meeting was going to happen during right around the time Idalia hit, so it was postponed, and it was scheduled again for the 1st of November. We're now looking at the end of November. We've reached out to both Edward Smith at FDEP, who is responsible for water policy and ecosystem restoration, SwiftMud, Jeanette Sechrist, and basically we've done all of our homework that way. Your staff received from us 3 documents, one from 1989, which was a Lake Rousseau with Lakuchi River management plan and policy, a 2004, and that was done by SwiftMud, a 2004 study done by URS, an engineering firm for Southwest Florida Water Management District, and then the one that Ward did was Wetland Solutions study, and that was from 2021. All three reports point directly to what the problems are when the barge canal the river was disconnected. We're seeking federal aid and state assistance similar to the Kissimmee River restoration project. And we need your continued support when the time comes as to whatever the final outcome is. There's plenty of studies. Matter of fact, we were seeking appropriations. We're going to pull that request because it's premature to do engineering. If Army Corps gets involved and funds this, they will do the engineering, and it's questionable would they accept another engineering report. So that's where we're at. Hopefully by the end of November, I'm kind of guessing it may be December, but we'll have this meeting. Unknown where we're going to be meeting yet, but all the parties involved, we hope they can attend.
Keep us updated.
I sure will, and thank you for meeting with us, and thank you for your job, and thank you for keeping our state sane.
It's hard to do these days.
I understand.
Actually, it's easy to do compared to other states, I should say. Joe Adams, Citrus County Democratic Executive Committee. Doc, you're up. Doc Bryn, Republican Liberty Caucus of Citrus County.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Senator Ingoglia and Representative Dr. Massulo. You're a good dermatologist. Okay. First, I'd like to discuss election integrity. We seek legislation establishing a one-day voting holiday and eliminating early voting, or at least limiting early voting to more than the weekend before Election Day. We also need to require verifiable paper ballots for all elections and eliminate mail-in voting except for members of the military and voters who can't make it there on Election Day and those who are infirmed. We're also asking for legislation to remove the Capitol Police from Florida. The establishment of this office in Tampa is an egregious example of the Biden administration's weaponization of federal law to come against our candidate Trump. This federal agency is circumventing the authority of our state constitution and the U.S. Constitution, and which says the federal government cannot create a presence in the state without the state's permission. Moving on the topic of gender ideology, we applaud the legislature for enacting House Bill 1069 earlier this year, which protects both students and teachers from being forced to use preferred pronouns or being subjected to gender ideology in the schools. We ask that you extend this to public employees as well. And finally, we urge you to continue to fight back against Biden's open borders policies by further cracking down on illegal immigration. Specifically, we ask you to pass the law similar to Texas Senate Bill 11 to authorize law enforcement to arrest illegal aliens for the crime of entering the state illegally. I want to thank Senator Ingoglia for working with Commissioner Diana Finnegan on a resolution urging Congress on behalf of our county citizens to use the power of the purse to force action on securing the border. Now, regarding the border security resolution, also want to take this opportunity to strongly condemn the remarks made at the last commission meeting by Commissioner Rebecca Blaise, who argued that the citizens of Citrus County shouldn't take a collective stand against illegal immigration because it might upset the terrorists. She then actually gave terrorists a blueprint for attack and naming vulnerabilities that they could go after in our county. These remarks were totally reprehensible, and we ask that the governor suspend her from office for her despicable and malicious statements. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Melissa Bowermaster, Jesse's Place. That's right, there's a $10 fee if you hand them up. Thanks.
So Senator Ingoglia, Representative Massulo, thank you so much for your time and attention today. And I want to say thank you for being invested in your communities and in your constituents. My name is Melissa Bowermaster, and I am the Executive Director of Jesse's Place, Citrus County's Child Advocacy Center. And I am here today because we have received significant funding cuts. About $127,000, or 18% of my total budget, was cut this fiscal year. Federal VOCA grants are the primary source of federal funding to victim-serving organizations. And our state funding, this fiscal year, VOCA grants across the board were cut by 20%. And Jesse's Place, like every other CAC in the state, utilizes these VOCA grants to provide direct services to child victims of abuse and their families. So, and as Murphy's Law would have it, while we were dealing with cuts in our VOCA federal grants, we also received about a 30% reduction in our state funding. So state funding for child advocacy centers comes through the Florida network of CACs. In 2013, the Florida Legislature set aside $3.4 million to support child advocacy centers in their mission to provide services to child victims of abuse. Unfortunately, that funding has not been adjusted in the last 10 years to account for the rising costs of providing these services and the increased number of CACs in the state of Florida. In fact, this year they cut our recurring funding by $400,000. So we now have less money to be utilized by more CACs to provide more services. And CACs, like Jesse's Place, depend on the stability of these recurring funds to hire personnel, like our mental health clinicians and our other service providers. So I'm not here today asking for an allocation for my center. I'm here today to ask you to support the increased funding efforts for the Florida network of CACs. So we are working on the state level to try and get the legislature to help us bridge that gap, that funding gap created by VOCA funding cuts and the lack of increases for the last 10 years. But I wanted to take this opportunity to talk to you about Citrus County and help you to point out, maybe is a better way to say, to point out how these funding cuts directly impact the children and families here in Citrus. Your constituents in Citrus County are losing out on services that they deserve and they need. It's our most vulnerable population. It's our children who are abused, and they're not being funded. So again, I ask you, as you return to Tallahassee, and I will see you there in February, but I will ask you to please remember the children, remember my request, and support Florida Network of CAC's funding.
So a couple of comments. I know every year this has sort of been a struggle, and because it comes out of the Attorney General's silo, right? It's a criminal
Correct.
justice.
Yes, the Attorney
silo.
General is our, yes,
Yeah.
our state agency.
And I've been a big supporter of the CAC in Hernando County.
Yes, Janine is a very close friend of mine.
Yeah, and all I can say is we'll continue trying to find a solution. We actually work with your organization's lobbyists a lot, trying to make sure that we're finding a solution.
Yes.
But personally, if you guys do anything fundraising wise up here, if you have any events, please reach out to me. I'd love to be involved because we're very involved. My wife and I are very involved with what goes on in Hernando County with their CAC. You know, I would pledge the same to help you guys out also.
Well, thank you very much. We would love to have both of you come out and tour our center. I think it's one thing to know what a CAC does. It's very different to see how we do it and to see the environment that children receive the services in. So would welcome you both at any time and just, again, ask for your support.
I have one question.
Of course.
Can you tell me what is the dollar match for the federal funds? So for every dollar the state will give you, what's the federal match?
Our federal grants don't match the state funding.
Okay, so
Our state grants require, well, they have 2020, they started waiving the match, but we have to match our federal grants by 25%.
So you have to match the federal grants. So that's why the federal grants have decreased then. It's not the dollar pot.
Well, no, it's actually pretty complicated, and I obviously in 3 minutes didn't have the time to get into the weeds as to why the federal grants were decreased, but it had a lot to do with the decrease in money going into the trust fund. VOCA grant is based on, is paid from the Victims of Crime Act, which created a Crime Victims Fund, and the amounts of money in those trust funds have just plummeted. So they're just not giving out the money. And in those sheets that I handed out, it tries to explain it a little clearer, because when I research it, it's really complicated. Yeah. Yes, yes. When you need, something to help insomnia, you can read all about VOCA grants.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks.
it. Thank you. Okay, that is all we have on the agenda. We do have some walk-in testimony. Linda Voronich, National Organization of Women, Citrus County. Looks like we outlasted her. Robin Orlandi, Adventure Coast Sierra Club. We outlasted them too. We're doing good. Monty Floyd, he's still here. Monty Floyd, Moms for Liberty. And behind that is Elaine Clyde. And then you're up next. Is there anyone, these are the last two appearance forms I have. Is there anybody else that wants to speak? If so, make sure you get the information over to my staff. You are recognized.
Okay. Good morning, Senator Ingoglia and Representative Massulo. My name is Monty Floyd, Vice Chair of the Hernando County Chapter of Moms for Liberty, and I stand before you today alongside Lenora Nelson, who is in the process of forming a Citrus County chapter. First, on behalf of the people of Citrus County who are forming a chapter of Moms for Liberty, but also on behalf of Moms for Liberty, I would like to thank you for supporting and in some cases sponsoring bills last session that looked out for the best interests of parents, their inalienable rights, and their children here in the free state of Florida, such as with the passage of House Bill 1069. Thank you. Florida leads the way and has become a haven for families who do not want to co-parent with the government or have their children sexualized or indoctrinated by a tiny minority of radical activists that have taken over our public school districts. Despite the gains we made last session, we need you to continue to stand up for parental rights in education. There is more to be done to root out the woke ideologies that are presently institutionalized in public education, as well as protect students from ed tech mandates. Moms for Liberty has two priorities for the upcoming session. First, curriculum transparency. Presently, state law protects the review of teacher manuals. As a former textbook reviewer with the Florida Department of Education this past year, many woke textbook companies at the direction of the K-12 cartel have hid a lot of indoctrination into these manuals. The second priority is to protect student data privacy by reining in ed tech companies who seek to target, track, or manipulate the behavior of children through de facto digital mandates in the public school system. During last legislative session, I had the honor to be invited to speak by Governor DeSantis at the signing of State Bill 662. 662 is a great start, but does not fully address or resolve the issue in public education. If you are interested in pursuing any of these priorities, please reach out to us so we can sit down and provide more information. We look forward to working with you all this year. God bless, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. You have a couple minutes if you want to say something.
I'm just
Actually, not a couple minutes, more, 40 seconds.
Thank you so much for your time and what you've done for our county and for our public schools. We still need a lot of work. We still need buses and bus drivers. We're having a very big problem in all of the counties of getting our kids to school. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Elaine Clyde.
Hi, gentlemen.
Hi.
Nice to see you again.
You too.
I just wanted to give back some information. I've been hearing some of the requests up here. One woman mentioned gun safety training. The sheriff actually put out a notification. He's offering that training for free. And there's like 4 different sessions, and that was posted in the Chronicle recently. Also, I had the honor of taking the Citizens Academy classes for both the sheriff's office and the commission office. And I would strongly recommend that our students be able to take these courses. I would recommend maybe in their senior year, because it would really give them an idea of how the county operates and what kind of jobs they'd be interested in, and help keep them here and working in our county. And then the YMCA has some resource funding I think they were requesting. I would recommend that they work with the resource centers that we already have that provide those senior services. There's like a veterans resource center that does have a pool, and they bring them in for lunch and all of that. So they already have a resource center for that. So just so that we're not overspending or double spending. And I think that pretty much covers. Oh wait, the OJT classes. I don't know if our current school system has an OJT training, on the job training. It's a wonderful program where a teacher comes in and gives them all the information about how they fill out the W-4 forms and how they get a job and interview. It teaches them all of those skills. I took it many years ago in Minnesota. It was wonderful. And you get to work early at like 16, and they pay you for that, and you still get credit for your school, and it goes towards your college education. So I'm just going to put that information to you, and I hope that it helps you in your decisions. And I hope you have a wonderful day, and I want to thank you for letting me have this time. God bless you.
Thank you. All right, I do not see any further public comment, so we will be wrapping this up. First, before I pass it off to Rep. Massulo, I do want to thank my staff, Hannah, Christian, and Jordan Ivy, who are up front here, on putting this together and all the hard work they do on behalf of Senate District 11. Thank you, ladies. Any closing comments?
Well, I want to thank your staff also. I think you did an excellent job, and it's always difficult. I want to thank my staff, even though they didn't have a lot to do with this particular delegation meeting. They certainly have run several in the past, and I know you all have collaborated quite well together, and hopefully you will continue to do that as we work through this coming session, which we hope to accomplish a lot for this community.
I'm sure it meant to come out a lot nicer than the way it came out. So, in closing, I just want to again thank everyone for coming and taking their time out to address the delegation. We have some big challenges ahead of us. As you know, that we are not afraid to take on big challenges. So I look forward to a very productive session this year. Again, taking on some of those big challenges. Hopefully, we continue doing well in your eyes, because it is the people of the community and not the corporations, not the special interests, not the lobbyists. We always try to do what is best for the citizens and the people who vote and put us here. Having said all that, I just want us to keep on praying for the state of Israel and what's going on over there. It's just an absolute travesty, and even more of a travesty, probably what's going on in our institutions of higher ed and what's going on in relation to the state of Israel. So with that, I'm gonna see no further business before the delegation. I will move that we adjourn, and we'll see you guys next year.
Second that.
All right. See the delegation adjourn.